Hello, good evening, everybody. Hello, how has your day been? Good evening to you all. Trust your day went well. All right, please, welcome. Thanks for joining. Please let us know where you're joining us from. Thank you so much. Let's give the live some time to kind of settle down. Yeah, please let us know where you're joining us from. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining. Welcome. And before we do anything, I want to sincerely thank you all. I want to thank you all for the support. The support has been massive. I want to thank you for being there for us. Thank you for watching our videos. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting. All right. Thank you for everything you do. Really appreciate it. Yesterday, I started a series very softly. I did a video and I thought of converting it into a series because it made all the sense in the world. It wasn't our usual motivational video, but it was around our work. And I called the series More Than a Worker. More Than a Worker. We did episode 1 yesterday. If you've not seen that, please go watch it. Tonight is episode 2. And I'm titling this episode, Don't End Your Career Only with a Paycheck. Don't end your career only with a paycheck. That speaks a lot, but I'm going to kind of decouple that as we go through this. Please, once you join us, let us know where you're joining from, and also kindly share this live with others so that they can also learn from it, and also let us know your thoughts. Comment. I want to talk to the person who has worked hard for so long that you don't even know how to rest anymore. Resting now starts feeling strange to you. I want to talk to the person who has spent years being dependable. You've spent years being responsible. You've spent years showing up. You've spent years carrying the weight. You've spent years doing what had to be done. You've spent years putting food on the table. You've spent years paying bills, years taking care of others. You've spent years being the one that everybody could count on. And if I can be honest tonight, I do not want to start this conversation with hype. I want to start this conversation with truth, with honesty, because there are people listening to me right now who have given their best years to work. You've given your best years to an organization, not because they were chasing luxury, not because you were being careless, not because you were selfish. No, you worked because life demanded that you work. Family needed it, so you worked. Hey, I'm good. How you doing, sir? Responsibility called it, so you worked. Survival required it, so you worked. And when you live like that long enough, something can quietly happen to you. You become so focused on making it through the month. Hello, Adam. How you doing? All your views now become month to month. You stop asking questions like, what am I building? You become so focused on the next deadline, the next shift, the next paycheck, the next problem, the next bill, the next school fees, the next emergency, the next rent payment, the next mortgage payment, the next car repair, the next obligation. That you do not stop long enough to ask, when all of this is over, when all these bills I'm paying, when all this monies I'm paying is over, what will I have built beside exhaustion? A lot of us, we've seen people live their life, and when they are 65, when they're 70, The only thing they know of is exhaustion. They get exhausted. They've given the best part of their life to a job. That is the question tonight. That is the question tonight. Work was great, man. Work was great. That is what I call the pain. That is a place I want to meet people tonight. And the title of this talk is Don't End Your Career with Only a Paycheck. Don't end your career with only a paycheck. Oh, because a paycheck matters. A paycheck matters. Let us not pretend as if it doesn't. It matters. A paycheck feeds the family. A paycheck keeps the light on. A paycheck pays for groceries. It pays for the mortgage. It pays for school fees. You know, it carries people through hard season. So this is not me disrespecting honest labor because I also work. This is not me telling you not to be grateful for income. 1,000 times no. This is me asking deeper questions. After all the years, after all the pressure, after all the sacrifice, after all the early mornings, after all the late nights, after all the stress, the loyalty, all the emotional wear and tear, will you have built something besides the paycheck? Will you have built perspective? Will you have built wisdom? Will you have built options? Will you have built influence? Will you have built leverage? Will you have built a future? Will you have built understanding beside the paycheck? Will you have built something that can still carry value when your role changes? Or will your entire professional story be reduced to something like this? I worked hard, I got paid, and then time moved on. Is that what your story will look like? Friends, that right there is where this conversation becomes emotional. Because many people are not afraid of hard work. What they are afraid of is waking up one day and realizing that all their hard work only kept them alive. But it never truly moved them forward. I just want you to understand that, because I see a lot of people, they've given 25 years, 35 years to a particular company, and they've become so proficient in what they do that they are called the professionals. But the question is, what is the end goal? Is the end goal only working towards a paycheck? Because that is why this talk tonight is very important. You're worth more than a paycheck. Your experience must become more than a paycheck. Your years must become more than a paycheck. Your sacrifice must become more than a paycheck. And if nobody has said this to you in a long time, let me say it now. You were not born just to earn and expire. You were not born just to work and wear out. You were not born just to survive until the system no longer needs your strength, because your strength is no longer there, it has failed. You were not born just to become useful and then quietly disappear into the background of your own life. There is more. There is more. And tonight, I want to help someone see it. I don't know who that person is. It might be just one person. But I want to help someone see that. Let me tell you what many people are really feeling, even if they don't say it. They're not just tired, they're afraid. They're afraid that they've spent so much time working that they've not built anything outside of work. Afraid that their whole identity is tied to being employed. Afraid that if the title changes today, the income stops, the role disappears, the company restructures, the identity shifts, or the industry moves to something else. Their health changes or retirement comes closer than expected. They may not know who they are without the routine. That is deep fear. It's deeply seated in so many people's heart. Because for many people, the paycheck has become more than income. It has become structure. The paycheck has become identity. It has become validation. It has become rhythm. It has become proof. It has become security. It has become routine. The paycheck has become a reason for you to keep on going, a way to feel needed. And when your paycheck becomes all of these, it becomes more hard to ask deep questions. Because deeper questions can be scary. Oh, they can be very, very scary. Questions like, what do I actually own from all these years? What belongs to me? Questions like, what knowledge have I turned into structure? From this work I'm going every day, from this job I've been doing for 15 years, what have I learned from this job that I've taken and I've turned into structure on the side? What part of my experience has become wisdom? What part of my work can live beyond my current role? These are deep questions. What have I built that is not dependent on this exact position? What happens if life changes faster than I expected? These are deep questions. They are not small questions. They are soul-searching questions. And some people avoid them. They avoid them because they are afraid of the answer. They are afraid the answer might be, I've worked hard, but I haven't built much beyond the routine. They are afraid the answer might be, I've earned, but I haven't expanded. They are afraid the answer might be, I've survived, but I haven't prepared. They are afraid the answer might be, I stayed busy, but I haven't truly grown. They are afraid the answer might be, I've just been doing somebody else's bid. I've not done mine. That realization, friends, it can hurt. But I need somebody to hear this tonight. The pain of awakening is better than the pain of regret. I need you to hear that and hear that loud. The pain of awakening is better than the pain of regret. I would rather you wake up now than panic later. I would rather you ask the hard questions now than get shocked later by life. I would rather you confront the truth now than cry over it when the options are fewer. I know this makes sense to you. I know this makes sense. Because some people do not need more comfort tonight. They need awakening. That's what they need. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Jerome. Jerome was a kind of man people respected. He was consistent, he was quiet, he was responsible. He did not talk big, he was not brash. He just handled his business. Jerome went to work, he paid the bills. He made sure the family was okay. He showed up when he had to show up. He carried pressure without complaining much. He did what a good man would always do. And over time, Jerome developed a mindset that many people develop without realizing it. He started equating steady income with a strong future. As long as the paycheck came in, he felt like things were okay. As long as the bills got paid, he felt like he was progressing. As long as the family was surviving, he felt like he was succeeding. But survival and progress are not always the same thing. There's a word right there. Survival and progress are not always the same thing. Jerome was surviving well, but he wasn't really building anything. He knew how to do his job. He knew how to carry his responsibility. He knew how to keep life moving. But he never really asked, what am I becoming through all of this? What understanding am I building? What can I carry with me if this changes? What future am I preparing for beyond the paycheck? Then one year, the company started changing. New leadership, new systems, new language, new expectation, new people coming in, new priorities. And suddenly, the team that had always felt stable started feeling uncertain. Jerome he started noticing something he had ignored for years. He realized he knew how to do the work. He knew how to do the work, but did not really know how to speak about the value of the work beyond the task itself. He knew how to function. Jerome knew how to function, but not how to frame his experience. He knew how to execute, but not how to position himself to be seen. He knew how to stay employed, but not how to think beyond employment. And that realization started bothering Jerome. One night, he sat in the kitchen table after everyone had gone to sleep. The house was quiet, the bills had been paid. The children were sleeping, the television was turned off. And for the first time in a long time, there was silence. And in that silence, he thought, a big thought hit him strong. The thought was this: what if I have spent all my life, all these years making money without really building a future? What if I've spent all my life making money without building a future? Hey, he said, if I remember, for sure I do remember you, man. I do remember you. Thanks for joining. Thanks, I appreciate that. See, that question broke something open in Jerome. Because he realized that the paycheck he has been getting, that paycheck has helped him survive. But it had wholly kept him from asking deeper questions. And many people are in that exact position right now. You have been getting steady paycheck. You've been working month to month or bi-weekly if you live in the Americas. You've been working month to month and you've been getting steady paycheck. So because of that, you're not asking the right questions. For you, you're thinking paycheck equal to steady income. That paycheck had been a blessing, but it has also become a distraction from the deeper work of building. Not because money is bad. Money is not bad. I also get paycheck. But because when survival is intense, people really have the emotional space to ask questions. What else should this season be producing in me? This work you are doing, what should you be learning from it? What skill can you take from this work and create it and make it a structure? Jerome's story, it matters because it's so common. It is common with a lot of people. There are people listening tonight who are very good people. Very good people. Hardworking people. Faithful people. But the system has trained you to think that if money is coming in, that is enough. And tonight I came to lovingly challenge that lie. The paycheck is necessary, but it's not enough. The paycheck you're getting is necessary, but it's not enough. The reason this message hits people emotionally is because, see, many of us come from backgrounds where work was never presented as something to deeply understand. It was presented as something to endure. So you were taught, get the job, keep the job, don't lose the job, be grateful for the job, work hard at the job, retire from the job. That was the script. That was the script. We were not taught study the business. We were not taught to understand the system. We were not taught to learn what creates value. We were not taught to learn what creates leverage. We were not taught to turn experience into wisdom. We were not taught to build options for the future. Think about what your knowledge could become. That knowledge, that thing you're learning, that thing you're doing today in your 9 to 5. Think about what that could become. Most people were not taught that. Most people were not taught that. So what they do, they learn to endure work, but not necessarily evolve through work. They don't evolve. They just learn to endure work. And this is why some people can spend 10 years in the profession and they are mentally trapped at the level of the role. They are not growing. All they know is what they do. They know the task. They know the politics. They know the stress point. Right? They know the frustrations. They know the routine. But they do not know how to convert that into something larger. That is painful because it means a person can be very experienced, but still very fragile. Very knowledgeable, but still they feel stuck. Very hardworking, but they still feel replaceable. And this is where a lot of quiet grief comes from. Not from the work itself, but from the feeling that after all these years, you should feel more built than you are. You should feel more built than you do. You should feel more secure than you do. You should feel more expanded than you do. You should feel more prepared than you do. But if your career has been teaching you how to earn, not how to build, that gap becomes painful. Let me say something that might land on somebody's heart tonight. Okay? Oh, somebody's asking, what are you talking about? The title of our talk tonight is Don't End Your Career with Only a Paycheck. That's what we're talking about tonight. Now, let me say something that might land on somebody's heart very hard. A career should not only pay you, it should also teach you. A career should not pay you, it should also teach you. It should teach you about people. It should teach you about systems, about value, about how money flows, about leadership, about leverage, about how problems are worth solving, about how the future is going. It should teach you what in you is deeper than the title. If your career only pays you, you never expand. Something is missing. And that is why this episode is called Don't End Your Career with Only a Paycheck. Because your years are too valuable for that. Your years are too valuable for just a paycheck. Let me talk to the audience for a minute. How many of you know what it feels like to work hard and still quietly you wonder if you're building enough for your future? Just be honest. I don't want you to answer. Just keep the answers to yourself. How many of you know what it feels like to be responsible, dependable, faithful, but you still sometimes feel like all your life has become is work? How many of you have ever sat down and thought, I know how to do my job? 100, I know how to do it. But I'm sure, I'm not sure how to turn my years into something bigger. I'm not sure into how to turn my years into something bigger. See, I want you to know that you're not alone in this feeling. You're not alone in this feeling. There are many people carrying this feeling silently. People working in IT, people working in healthcare, in the trades, in administration, in finance, in leadership, people at all levels. And the feeling is the same. I don't want to spend my whole life working and then find out that I never built anything beyond the next direct deposit. I don't want that. I want to say this tenderly to you guys. If that's where you are, do not shame yourself. It's okay. You're not late, but you're just waking up. You're not behind because you're becoming conscious. You're not failing because you're asking deeper questions now. In fact, this may be the beginning of one of the most important shift of your life. Because the moment a person starts asking, what else should my work be producing in me? That person is no longer asleep. They are getting awakened. They are getting awakened. Let me tell you another story. There was a woman named Michelle. Michelle gave everything to her profession. Not in a flashy way, not for applause. Not because she was trying to prove anything. She just cared deeply about her work. You know what I mean? There are people like that around you. Even when she came home, the work came home with Michelle. The stress came home with her. The unfinished thoughts came home with Michelle. The people around her, they were worried because she always comes home with the work. The emails came home with Michelle. The emotional residue came home with Michelle. She was the kind of person who did not know how to do things halfway. So for years, she poured herself into her career. For years. She kept learning. She kept solving problems. She kept showing up. She kept being the reliable one. She kept being the person everybody leaned on. And people praised her for it. They called her committed, dedicated, exceptional, because she was. And one day, she went to a retirement event for someone older than her in her field. And something about that event unsettled her. Everybody said nice things, everybody clapped, there were speeches, there were flowers, there were memories, there were warm words. But after all of that, something in Michelle felt heavy. Because as she drove home, she kept asking, when my turn comes, what will I really be left with? When I get to the point where I retire too, what will I be left with? Not what memories will people have. Not whether they will say nice things. Not whether there will be cake in a break room. Not what I will. The question was, what will I be left with? Will I have built a life? Will I have built wisdom? Will I have built something that continues after that role? Will I have built a next chapter? Will I have built a sense of who I am outside the role? That thought made her cry. Because for the first time in her life, she realized she had prepared thoroughly for work, but not deeply for life after work. And so many people are doing that right now. They are preparing for tomorrow's meeting. They are preparing for tomorrow's report, tomorrow's problem, tomorrow's shift, tomorrow's task. But they are not preparing for the day when they need to stand on something deeper than their current usefulness. Thank you so much for the gift. Michelle's breakthrough began when one painful but honest admission said, I have built a career, but I have not fully built myself beyond the career. That sentence changed the way she started living her life. She did not quit everything. Like I said yesterday, you don't have to quit everything. She did not become reckless. No. She did not abandon her responsibility. She only started asking bigger questions. What do I know now that could help others? What patterns have I seen for years? I haven't done this job for years. I haven't been a mechanic for years. I haven't been an administrator for years. I haven't been an IT engineer for years. What do I know? What pattern have I seen that could help others? What part of my experience has value beyond my title? What can I teach? What can I document? Who can I mentor? What language do I need to learn to speak about my experience at the highest level? What will it look like to let my years become wisdom, not just wear and tear? That shift of thought changed their life. And it can change someone else's life tonight. That job you do, you're a medical doctor. What do you know that could be information for others? What patterns do you see as a nurse that could be written into a book? And that book is sold. What pattern could you see as a nurse that could be carved into a program, into a course, and that course is sold? For you that's an administrator, you know how to get the office set up. What patterns can you see, have you learned over time from your work that you can take, you can lift and put it in a book, and that book is sold? It's not about working for a paycheck. You're working for knowledge. That knowledge that you've gotten, that wisdom, who can you teach? Who can you mentor? What do you know that can be taught? Oh, these days, YouTube has made it easy. What do you know that you can come and create a YouTube channel for? And just talk about it. You're working, you're not just there. You're learning, you're gaining wisdom. Then what are you doing with the wisdom? That's all what this talk is about. That's all this talk is about. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate that. Thanks so much. I want to talk about quickly the difference between earning and building. Let me slow down and make this very plain. There's a difference between earning and building. Earning is receiving money for effort, for skill, for time, for service. But building is creating something that outlasts the moment. Earning pays today's bills. Building strengthens tomorrow's position. Earning helps you survive the current month. Building helps you prepare for future seasons. Earning keeps life moving. Building creates options. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And many people have done a lot of earning. You've gotten the paycheck. That has been all you've been after. You've done so many earning without building. Friend, this is not an insult. No, don't take it like that. This is a diagnosis. Because when life is intense, earning can consume all your energy. And if you're not careful, years will pass with you doing impressive amount of labor without turning much of it into structure. No frameworks, no deeper understanding, no documented lessons, no repositioning, no expanded language, no new pathways, no investment in what your experience could become. And that is where a lot of people get trapped. I was talking to somebody 2 days ago in the office. I said, you have been an analyst for 18 years. He told me, yes. I told him, have you written a book on how to be an analyst? He was looking at me. I said, you have worked for a paycheck for 18 years. He said, yes. I said, there's something else you've worked for, you've not cashed. He said, what? I said, wisdom. I said, you have wisdom of 18 good years as an analyst. Have you written a book? Have you built a structure with the wisdom? Something that can go into the future for you. He was looking at me. He couldn't understand. I said, because we were not taught how to live like this. The schools did not teach us. Our homes did not teach us. So we're taught to stay in the job, but we were not taught how to learn from the job, the business behind the job. Because the longer you only earn, the more your mind begins to believe that the only way you can produce value is by continuing in the same pattern. See, that is dangerous. It is dangerous because what happens when the pattern changes? Look at how the world is going today. AI is disrupting all industries. Think about it. There's no industry that is safe from AI. Technology is changing things. And a lot of people are sleeping and waking up with fear because their companies are either restructuring, they don't know what to do next. A bigger company, a bigger competitor is buying them out, and they are getting them fired because they are replacing them with AI agent. If that is the case, what will you be doing? What can you do outside work? What have you learned that you have documented, that you have journaled? What is it? What happens when your body slows down? Because it will. What happens when the company changes? It's going to change. What happens when technology comes in and sweeps everybody off their feet? What happens when the industry moves? Think about it. If all you learned as a car mechanic was how to repair a car with manual transmission, where will you be today? If all you learned as a mechanic was how to fix a car with manual transmission, where will you be today? What would have happened to you in this age and time? Industries are moving. Roles will disappear. Lot of roles will disappear. What happens when your desire even changes? What happens when life forces a transition you did not even plan for? If all you've learned is how to earn in one form, then change feels terrifying. But if your years have also taught you how to think, how to understand, how to mentor, how to frame, how to teach, how to build, how to reposition, then change, even when it's difficult, it's not going to be devastating to you. That is why I keep saying, do not end your career with only a paycheck. Because your career should leave you with more than deposits. It should leave you with a depth. Your career should leave you with a depth, not just paycheck. Let's make this a little bit practical with across different professions, okay? Because I know a lot of people listen to me, so I want to make it wide. If you're in IT like me, do not let your entire career become tickets, become systems, incident, tools, upgrade, project tasks. No. These things, they matter, yes. That's what we do on a daily. But your years should be teaching you something. How business creates value. How risk affects decision making. How technology supports growth. How customer experience is influenced by systems. How operational failure costs money. How leadership thinks. How transformation happens. How to connect technical work to business outcomes. Because if all you know is the technology language, but not business language, you may not, and you may stay more buried than you should. If you're in healthcare, your years should not only leave you with fatigue and shift stories. They should also leave you with deeper understanding of care systems, patient flow, process design, outcomes, operations, leadership pressures, and the areas where your experience can become influence, training, advocacy, or guidance. If you're in education, your years should not only leave you with classroom memories, they should leave you with insight into learning, development, communication, mentorship, curriculum, systems, and how your gift can further stretch than one job title. If you're in trades, your years should not only leave you with worn muscles and experience and blistered fingers. No. They should leave you with patterns, judgment, training ability, process awareness, customer wisdom, transferable knowledge. If you're in administration, operations, finance, sales, or leadership, the principle is still the same. Your work should not only pay you, it should reveal things to you. That is very powerful. Because once your work begins revealing things to you, you stop being merely a participant in your work. You become a student of your work, an interpreter of your work, a builder inside of your work. And that changes the second half of your life. It changes the second half of your life. I was thinking of adding one more story. But I thought, no, let me leave that. I've given too much stories today. Your work should teach you wisdom. Let me make this practical before we close, at least. How do you make sure your career leaves you with more than a paycheck? How? Number one, start asking better questions. Not just questions like, what do I need to get done by this week? No. Ask questions like, what is this season teaching me? What patterns am I seeing? What do I understand now that I don't understand before? Ask those kind of questions. Number two, learn the language of value. Be able to explain how your work creates outcomes. What problem does it solve? What risk does it reduce? What efficiency does it create? What trust does it protect? What growth does it support? Number three, document what you know. Write it down. A lot of people have wisdom trapped in memory. Write things down. Capture lessons. Record patterns. Build frameworks. Turn experience into structure. Create a YouTube channel. Make videos and post them. Don't just consume other people's content. Also create content. Number four, mentor people intentionally. This is very important. One of the best way you know your years are becoming more than a paycheck is when you begin helping others. Mentor people really intentionally. Number five, study the business, not just the task. How does your field make money? What drives decisions? What are the expensive problems? Where is change happening? What is becoming more valuable? What is becoming less valuable? Number six, stop calling yourself just anything. I said that yesterday. That word is shrinking people. Don't use that. Number seven, think about life after the current chapter. Think about life after now. Not from fear, from wisdom. Number eight, build identity beyond employment. Very important. Who are you besides your current role? What do you carry beside your title? What part of your life, what part of you still has value if the structure changes? Number 9, turn pain into perspective. I love that. The hard years should leave you with more than scars. They should leave you with insight. They should leave you with wisdom. And number 10, refuse to let your career consume you without also enlarging you. This is a big one. Don't let your career consume you. It's not about the paycheck. Let your career also deposit something in you, knowledge, wisdom. And as we close tonight, I want to leave you with this thought. The paycheck matters. It matters. Be grateful for it. Use it wisely. Respect the dignity of work. But do not let that paycheck become the full measure of your professional life. Because if all your years leaves you with is money that come and go, or that came and went, stress that came and stayed, memories of how tired you were, then your career gave too little back for what it took from you. Your best years, it gave too little for what it took from you. I want more for you than that. I want more for you than that. I want your work to leave you with language. I want your work to leave you with understanding, with perspective, with confidence, with depth, with options, with wisdom, with identity that is not fragile, with a future that is not trapped. I want you to reach a point where you can say, yes, I worked hard. Yes, I carried responsibility. Yes, I earned my living. But I also built something in myself. I also learned how my field works. I also learned how my profession works. I also grew. I also deepened. I also became wiser. I also turned the experience into something that can outlast this role. Even if the industry changes tomorrow, even if the role changes tomorrow, even if somebody else comes in and buy over our company and cut us off, I also learned something. That is the goal. The goal is not to despise work, but to demand that work does more than use you. So tonight, before you leave, I want you to sit with these 3 questions. Number 1, what has my career paid me besides money? Number 2, what has my work taught me that I can build on? Number 3, what part of my experience can outlive my current role? Do not rush these questions. Sit with them, because your future may be hiding in the answers. Don't rush them. And if this message resonates with you, please sit with it. Listen to it over and over and over again. And don't just sit on it alone. Share it with somebody else. Share it with someone in your world. And also like the message. Let us know your comment. Let us know your thought. And if you've not hit the subscribe button, kindly hit the subscribe button so that you know when we go live. This message is more than a check. And your life is more than a paycheck. Because what you are called to do is not just to earn, you are called to build. God bless you. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.